Hello out there. This is um hello everyone out there. This is the first video from part 3. We're working on page 4 here. Um, yeah, I'm having a tough time starting this one, but this one's actually I guess I'm having as hard a time starting this, trying to go into this video as I was trying to figure out how to do this page. It's the idea is I'm sort of I'm showcasing the sequence from the neighborhood watch where Corey and Francis show up, and then moving into the that sort of final scene from Corey's story where the kids are showing up in the gym on their first day, on the Corey and Francis's first day back. It's the idea is in the timeline in my head. It's 2 separate days, and I don't really want to do a lengthy scene between. I sort of want to get beyond that and move on. So the first 3 pages already deals with the neighborhood watch scene, and now I need for page 4 here. I'm trying to do a transition page so that you don't have a jarring time jump, because it's basically, you see it's basically in scene A you've got more or less Elliot at the gym at the neighborhood watch in his workout clothes, presumably to use the gym either before or after the watch meeting. And then the next scene would be him and Rusty at the gym in their workout clothes. So if I just sort of jump from one to the other, it's like, well, where the heck did Rusty come from? It's you've got 2 scenes that are too similar with no transition to mark a time jump. And that's what this page is basically serving as, is sort of that transition to let you, the viewer, know that a day is passing between the 2 scenes, so that you're not disconcerted when you're like flipping pages in the book. The I think okay, the sort of thing is like the thing I guess I'm having trouble with, and it's not really that I'm having trouble, but it's I gotta put this on percent. Okay, 34. It's my sleep has been kind of messed up for a little while now, so I'm not exactly thinking too clearly on when I'm working at times, and that sort of like happened to hit when I like originally started this page. Is that I got started on something kind of like only half focused on it. So I did end up starting this page with another idea and then scrapping it. Let's see. Bad enough. So this here, what you're seeing is sort of a second attempt at this transition. um, and also what this is serving as is sort of more of his inner torment, his transition. It's sort of more of the thought process that's going to go into his decision to basically abandon the neighborhood watch and take off on a road trip with Chase. It's as much as he'd like to get revenge against the people who attacked Rusty. Um, and as much as he'd like to sort of accept Rusty and Tamara and move on from his infatuation with her, it's still driving him nuts, and it's kind of going to lead him to the point of, I guess figuratively and literally, running away from the problem instead of confronting it. Um, da, 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 da. Oops, what did I do? It slipped on delete instead, didn't it? Merge down. Was I think my original transition was a conversation with Rusty when he comes back from the neighborhood watch meeting, but it just it felt unnecessary. It kind of felt like that conversation didn't really add anything to the story, so that's why I ended up scrapping it. It just felt like filler, where I think what I'm looking to do here this time around is to kind of remind you of the decision that he's got to make with the ink, to bring up that subplot again. Um, I've got two copies of this Tamara character here, so let's see. Who's going to be easier to work with? Oh, shoot. Let's see. Oh, I don't want that one. I want this thing. We're gonna just retexture this. Let's see what we've got. Um, what would be a fun? Probably use this one already. Yeah, it's good. And then let's do the trim. Here, now let's go into this one. Black. Yep, that's good. So it does sort of feel like that whole subplot of everybody wanting to buy the ink and it turning into this auction. Like in my mind, it seems to have faded away. I think it didn't. I think as I started this, it didn't become as big a story as I initially planned, as this sort of went the action route instead. Da, da, da. But it still fits with what I want to do here in Rusty and Elliot's story, so I kept it. And that means I have to keep addressing it every now and then to remind you that it's still there. Oops, I didn't want that. So, and two, because in the next scene, when he and Rusty are at the gym with Corey, that's where he's kind of made up his mind. No, he's made up his mind that he doesn't want to sell it. He's got an idea what he wants to do with it, but he's not 100% sure. And oddly enough, sort of in this story, there hasn't really been much thought process on that. So I do need to kind of give him his reasons for keeping it. You know what? I just got that set up and now I'm rethinking the whole thing. Yeah, that looks better. Okay. So the idea is this transition is going to explain, is going to help explain. Okay, there we go. he's sort of going to finally explain what he's going to do with what he wants to do with the ink. I've sort of hinted to it, but I haven't really been playing with it in story yet so far. And if I do the conversation with Rusty that I had originally started to do, it was going to drag this out. Probably this transition was going to be a full blown like 2 or 3 pages, and that's kind of felt unnecessary. Uh, da, 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 da. I think that looks good from the front, but it's not looking good from this angle. So let's just mess with this a little bit. Okay. Yeah. 26. Da, render. Okay. Oh, whoops. Let's cancel that. I forgot one thing. Because this is supposed to be another one of those fantasy sequences, I went and forgot to lights change the color of the light. So there's color. Um, I opened up this set so I could remember what the color was. 90, 45, and 22. 5 and 22. Oh, and I had already set it as a preset, so never mind. There we go. See, I didn't need to open that after all. So is fantasy sequence, and I'll just close that. Render. Edit. We will paste as a new layer. And I'll just make that invisible for a moment. Bad enough I can't stop thinking. Go there. Can't stop hoping for a miracle. But in all my fantasies, I overlook one thing. I don't like that. Make that white. Okay. And I could probably live with that, but let's see if I can square this. No, I can't. Okay. Then I will just be happy with that as is. Oops. Cut. New layer. Color to invert. Merge down. There we go. And I do want to kind of stagger these. So let's stagger these a little bit. And it kind of didn't help yesterday either that I got kind of roped into a move watching some movie. Oh, we've already got you. Edit file. It's like on some of these weird secondary channels that pop up on like the network broadcast stations. Is one of them keeps playing this movie from the 70s called Seven Alone. It's like one of those coming of age tales where like the lazy good for nothing like older son accompanies the family on the Oregon Trail, and when the parents die he it's like he takes over and finds responsibility and all that. And I think I first encountered this movie like last January, and in like a weird way, like sort of being the older over my brother, it's I find myself like identifying him because in some ways that was just me, like the one you really couldn't get him to like do the chores, always lazy off doing his own thing, antagonizing my younger brother, that sort of thing. But so I just like find myself like I never it's just like keep finding this movie on and just like always get stuck watching it. And and then but it's like let's see this. No, I was right there. Okay, see page X. I don't know why I saved it, but I did. Page X was the original one, but it's like it's based off like a real family that went off to the that traveled the Oregon Trail back in the 1840s, and it's like the end of the movie they have sort of their happy ending where they find they get there and they find their house and they're all happy, but it's like in real life they were like involved in an Indian massacre and the two brothers in the family are killed. It's like Jesus Christ. One of the daughters dies in captivity. the other four are just like terrified until they're just until they get out. Blah blah blah. It's like God, not a happy ending in in real life. Like Jesus. Um, and what was I gonna do here? But it's like in some ways the movie is kind of funny because like it's 1974, but like I don't know if it's like the movie itself or if it's just the print that the channel shows, but the color is like so washed out that it feels like it's maybe from the 50s, not not the 70s. Um, oh yeah, I remember what I was gonna do now. And because it's one of those that like just covers a lot of time in a short space, you just sort of like things happen and there's very little, if any, setup. So there's one sequence where the kid he gets tired of the discipline and decides to run away. And when he ends up coming back to the, and it's like it feels like he almost immediately gets brought back to the wagon train or to the wagon, and it's like his mother's lying in the back of the wagon, and he's like, "Oh, you want to see your new sister? Like, you just had a baby. I didn't even know you were pregnant." It's like when previously in this movie did we see her pregnant, and suddenly she's got a new baby? It's one of those. I think Little House on the Prairie did the same thing when they decided to do this story of the Angle's son who didn't survive, where they come into this episode and all of a sudden like they do the entire pregnancy, birth, and then death of the kid in like one episode. uh, and it's funny too because like at that time everything was filmed in Southern California. So it's like they're supposed to be starting off the journey in Missouri, and you've got mountains in the background. Because Missouri is such a mountainous state. Let's see. Oh, hmm. Okay, let's turn limits off. Ugh, I have to turn all limits off, aren't I? What just happened? Red and straight. Bring this in just a little. Smile. And I think because just to make this fantasy a little more interesting in his eyes, we'll take the shirt off. Because we know where every teenage boy would like this to go. I'm not sure. Because this one, I can use the space for word bubbles, so I'm not really worried about that, but I don't want this to seem too small a picture on page. So let's do this. 27A. What just happened? Oh my god. Let's see. I don't. The struggle here is like, how do I put it so that he sounds like a teenager. I feel like in these, a lot of times he sounds older than he really is, or he's supposed to be. But I know that's what Rusty likes. Oh, situation thinking about. Okay, I felt like my fingers typed a misspelling there, and I don't see it. I'll probably see it later. Da, 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 da. Okay. Hmm. Save. And let's see. These guys in there. B. Hmm. 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 What the heck? Okay. But there's a part of me that wants to do a story um, where the character where it's the character is either dealing with the death of a sibling or it's a parent dealing with the death of a child, depending on which way which character I go with. I've done the family stories where they've got the death of a parent um, sort of hanging over them. And I sort of want a character dealing with sort of the loss of somebody like that, but it's one of those ideas where I can't really place the idea into a story, and it's one of those I'm not sure. Um, where am I caught? I'm not sure it's something that really fits with with sort of the I guess the kind of stories that I've been doing. I think that it's like it feels like it might be too dark. I mean, I've done dark stories before. Um, it's like a concept that feels like it might go too dark of a story. So it's oh, there we go. So it's like one of those ideas that has been it's in my mind, but it just never finds a story for it because I don't even know if I want to do it. Um, okay, and let's go filter, blur, 5, and okay. Export as. And I know my sort of general stated goal with um, sort of these themes, these genres, whether it's like the muscle growth or the macro micro stuff. It's like I do state that I prefer the fun myself. So for thing when it's fun, when the characters are having fun. So it kind of seems to go against um, what I try to do, but at the same time, you do like it's. I think I see it more with the muscle growth is that vehicle becomes a way to transcend the problems in their life. So I have the competing ideas. And I think to an extent this is all in my head, but it always feels like the darker stories um, sort of never perform as well on Amazon as the more lighthearted ones. Oh, let's see. He, I'm trying to think. Do I already have underwear? No. So now for this scene, I'm gonna put them. Let's find some. Put them in their underwear. So what do we want to? Oh, moment. Oops. Cancel. What am I doing? Oh, yeah. Thinking about the dark stories and forgetting. um, but it's like, yeah, I'd throw like Shrimp of the House Claymore Jane into that category. The idea where it's dealing with divorce and abuse. Um, My Twin No More goes into that category. Where you're dealing with the death in the family that nobody's been able to get over, in a sense, and how it's kind of led to just like constant misery in the family. Um, Friends Forever, the story this one comes from. No one I need currently used. Another one that it deals with another, a whole slew. It's again divorce. Um, again abuse, and sort of again a death in the family. Um, what am I doing? Let's take the shoes off. Whoops, I didn't want my parent fit to. Okay, what just happened? This is where the mouse is starting to annoy me. Oh, whatever is going on with the mouse, it'll eventually stop doing this. But that doesn't mean it isn't going to be annoying in the short term. Let's see. D to bring him to the floor. Um, I don't know if you keep hearing that beeping. It's, I think, that's again the mouse. I think Windows keeps thinking the mouse is being unplugged, plugged back in. So the toe is not the foot. There we go. Okay, how much space do I have? Okay. Speaking of what's going on with the lights. Oh, that's why I've got those on. I don't want those on. Eight A. And speaking of things we don't want on, let's take outdoor off. Oh, under that. Hmm. He probably. Um, but I don't think he's thought about what happens. Relationship gets this far. Elliot's already hinted to this, but his sort of thoughts were kind of derailed at the point where he was asking Corey for advice in the first part, I think. It's the idea is it's he was thinking about it way back then. Where is oh okay, layer view. The idea is to lay out um, layer two size. Oh, why is this unchecking all my settings all of a sudden? Invert, select grow. Okay. Select invert. No, I want. Come on. Cut. Go. Layer. Color. Invert. And merge down. Oh, you're still okay. While we're waiting for that, let's go and do this. Layer to image size. Edit. Cut. Edit. Paste as. Layer. Cut. Merge down. And I hear the CPU winding down, so that means this is done. let's turn off furniture, building, put outdoor back on, and these two can just go into an invisible folder. There we go. B. And while we're waiting for that, we will go back to this. Edit. Um, this is really starting to annoy me. Save. And nope, I still don't have you yet. What the heck? Oh, we're almost there. Okay, so, oops. File open. Export as. Open as layers. We'll go view. 33. Yeah, see, that fits in that spot. Okay. And this is there. Unparent. Okay. Jeez. Let's put Elliot away so I can. Da, 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 da. Okay. Is the answer to the question, is there such a thing as too big? She seems to think so now. Oh boy. I guess I can't be too harsh on this mouse, though. It is rather old. Hmm. Okay. Well, since this is going to take another minute or two, and I seem to be out of things to say at the moment, I'm going to cut and we'll do a Julia Child and pull the roast out of the oven. Pull the finished roast out of the oven when we put the unfinished one in. And here is the beautiful roast coming out of the oven. See that golden brown color? When we cut it open, it'll be nice and juicy. Uh, while waiting for that, I kind of opened up the video to see if you were getting all the annoyance of the stupid mouse popping in and out of windows. And it, I do see it, or hear it, I should say. Like, God, that is annoying. Doodaloo, doodaloo, doodaloo. Okay, Windows, shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. Let's see. I think we will cut this one here. Whoops, select none is what I want. So I guess in in like that vein of the family drama, the dark drama that I was talking about. Um, and I know I've kind of mused in previous videos about other projects that are in my mind. I think I'm leaning more and more towards my next project after the Iron Brotherhood is wrapped up is to doing this story idea called Burn Pit. Camera. Sort of feels like lately I've been getting like sort of a breakthrough on what to do with the story beyond the general sort of premise that I set up. So I think I've said before that one of the musing I come on, sort of the going back and forth was whether or not to make it at least the family portion of it, sort of the drama between the father son or husband wife. I think initially, I think the initial fun was fun, or fun, but sort of initial, come on, here we go. Initially, I was focused on the father son stuff, and then more recently decided that it was going to be more um, marriage drama. I think, where am I? There we go. And I think just recently, I think I figured in my head I can do both with it. That the two will kind of complement each other. So I think it's like the more it comes together, the more that my mind is actually um, warming up to the idea of actually putting it in the pipeline, so to speak. That said, I still think, yeah, I still think after doing this story, the Rusty and Elliot story, I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna do up the short story Teddy Bear I keep talking about, which should take like about a week and a half, all told, before doing the fifth part of this series, the United story. I think the idea is just because the fear with Teddy Bear is that it's one of those ideas that kind of grabs me. Um, I think it kind of grabs me in the sort of as I'm kind of as it's fresh in my mind, and I'm almost afraid that edit paste as I'm almost afraid that like the longer it sits in my mind and the longer it takes to actually work on it, the less interested I get to doing it, and that by the time I finish this, I won't want I won't want to actually do that story. I'll like my head will be on has moved on to something else. So I think I want to do that story while it's still kind of novel. Well, it's still like a novel idea. Uh, hmm, I do have something that will help. Oh, let's see. How do we want to say this? I do have something that will help. I've not decided about the scene. Oh, but, let's see. I do have something about. Yeah, we'll leave it on an ellipse. And open as layers. 34. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay. And I think I can leave the text as is. So let's bring you. And we will resize this. Good enough. And then trim it. Okay, that looks good. Select invert, edit, cut. No. Layer to image size. Select invert row. Cut. Okay, select none, color, invert. Let's merge that down. And now we come to these and trim these down. Layer to image size. What is this? Edit, paste as new layer. Down. And edit cut. Oh, I forgot to trim that. Oh well. Invert, we will go invert. Edit. Now the mouse is going to start acting up again. Okay. And I can merge that down. There's my page. We will save that. File save. Image. Flatten and file export. And we've got to change it to JPEG. JPEG. There and hit enter. And export. This should be my page 4 somewhere here. Okay. It's bad enough I can't stop thinking about Tamara. I can't stop hoping for a miracle. But in all my fantasies, I overlook one thing. If she were to fall for me, she's still normal. She's so small compared to what I am now. I don't mind it exactly. I mean, I like the idea of being worshipped as a giant. I know that's what Rusty likes about having such a small girlfriend. He's probably across the hall in the same situation I'm thinking about. But I don't think he's thought about what happens if their relationship gets this far. So how is this supposed to work? I think you're too big. I do have something that will help. This ink. It might be the only thing that will let me have a normal relationship. And then that will transition into that last page or two from um, Corey's story. So, since that is page 4, I will tune out here. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for your support. And I will see you next time.